it.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Movie Slingers
What?
podcast.
10? I think you jumped a few.
Did I jump?
It's fine.
You know what? Welcome to
I
the
lost count.
Barbenheimer episode
Yeah.
for today.
Yeah.
It's by us, the Movie Slingers, starring
Nolan.
and Denul. So this, I think last week was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
we got
it
two
was-
films.
It was quite a busy last 2 weeks. We watched a lot of films, and
Yeah.
it's a good time to go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
Very exciting. It was full on Monday night. I saw it was Monday night. After the weekend, it was still like
Packed.
it looked packed.
Yeah.
It looked packed. Yeah. So let's talk about Barbenheimer. I guess I
Yeah.
watched Barbie first.
Yeah, I also did.
I guess we'll talk about
Yeah.
Barbie.
I watched it on the 19th, so they on Scope they showed it I think 3 days before the premiere. They wanted to do this whole early access thing, so I went there. I think I was one of many people who didn't wear pink.
Did you go in black?
I went in this blue tie-dye kind of thing, and I was telling because actually it was my sister's birthday, and I told her, why don't you wear something pink, and because it's your birthday, so two birds one stone, so why don't you go wearing pink? And she was like, guess what, I don't have anything in pink, but I have it in purple. I was like, you know what, fine, let's all go. And we all went. It was packed. Everything was pink in the premiere. We had pink ice cream. We were given posters, and it was a really good film.
Yeah, in my screening there was a lot of kids. I guess they didn't. They were very young, and I guess the parents didn't realize that it's more for teenagers.
Yeah.
But these kids were like 6-7 years old. But they were having
Wow.
fun. Everyone was having fun. It's a very funny.
So when did you watch the Barbie film?
Okay, I forgot. I think it was the Thursday.
Okay. So
Not last week. The
yeah.
week before.
So you watched on 20th.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah, 20th. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the 20th. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But because for me, in my premiere, there were all these. I think it's the early access whole thing. So all these influencers and all came
Right.
in. No kids, all grown-ups, and yeah. So where shall we begin with Barbie?
Wow. It was. Let's talk about, I guess, the performances.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie. Obviously, Margot Robbie she is perfect.
Yeah.
And
Even the narrator herself acknowledges that. Like,
was it Helen Mirren?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Helen Mirren. And in that first scene, you see it's like a kind of like a tribute to Stanley Kubrick's 2001. I knew we were in for like a
Treat,
very fun ride. Actually, there's a lot of loving kind of callbacks to classic films.
Films,
I think there's something for The Truman Show.
Yeah.
Maybe The Shining.
Yeah.
I think. And somebody mentioned The Matrix. I think. Right.
The Matrix,
So there's a lot of wonderful callbacks. And as soon as it starts, okay, Margot Robbie was like the perfect person for this, and obviously Ryan Gosling
Yes, Ken.
as Ken is amazing. He's probably gonna get nominated for Best Supporting Actor or something.
Yeah, definitely.
He was so good in this, and I loved.
And his singing was also really good.
We already know he's a good singer and dancer.
Yeah.
And there's even like a musical bit,
Yeah.
which was really funny.
Yeah.
And I love Kate McKinnon.
Yeah.
And as soon as she popped up doing the weird Barbie thing, I thought that was perfect. And she's doing like I don't know how to.
I think she's herself, like in any SNL
she's
skit.
herself, but it's a very like almost like a Michael Keaton, Beetlejuice kind of thing, because she's like her body keeps bending at these
over
weird angles,
yeah.
and I thought that was just perfect.
Yeah.
That was just perfect. Yeah. So what did you think about the cast and
Margot Robbie is perfect. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not talking just the physical aspect of her, but also how she takes on the character, because I think she takes on a very stereotypical Barbie.
Yeah.
And I think that is within her realm of acting. I mean, she has a range. I think
she's actually very
been
good.
in many films.
Yeah. Like if you watch Babylon, she was really.
I remember. I think she was on Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
I think she kind of got on to other films, and And also, surprisingly, I found out that her company is also a part of this production. She's a producer.
Oh, right.
And I found out that she initially just wanted to be a producer, but then obviously Greta Gerwig was like, no, you're perfect for this role. Why don't you come in? So
and her star power also probably helped.
Yeah.
Get the attention.
And speaking of like Ryan Gosling, right?
Yeah.
Because I always mix him and Reynolds, but
what? How?
Because they both start with Ryan, and it's like I always mix
but one guy is cool,
and the other
guy is Ryan Reynolds. I'm sorry.
But anyway, where was I? Yeah,
Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. Yeah, I mean he's perfect for this role, and I have to say this though, because he has. I mean, if you take him outside of Hollywood and when you go into the internet culture, he's this literally me character.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess it's through no fault of him. It's just the films that he's appeared in appeal to that kind of
audience,
fan base, right?
Yeah.
Drive, stuff like Drive.
After the film, I was like, they actually really did a really clever trick on him, because I don't think anyone else can play Ken in that aspect in which Ryan Gosling brought in. And also with whatever the star power he has as the literally me character and the meme culture that surrounds him.
That fits him, right? Because there's a certain fan base that loves that kind of thing, and he sort of represents that, right? The whole the kind
the of alpha male,
the American Psycho, Patrick Bateman that kind of thing,
and
right?
and also like we also have to bring this part up, because I think when you bring someone like Ryan Gosling, you also bring that fan base to watch this movie, which is a Barbie film.
The film bros.
So I mean, he did also a really brilliant job. Not only like there were certain scenes also where he flips like from being really positive to really being this very evil and very weak character, which I love.
He goes towards the patriarchy. I thought that was very clever. The way they handled that.
The cast was a pretty good cast. I think I recognize some of them from Sex Education from the Netflix show. I think one of the Barbies who looked like Margot Robbie, who's brown hair.
I don't remember who that.
There's this one girl who looks exactly like her. A lot of people mistake her as Margot Robbie.
Oh, it's the other girl. She was also in Babylon, I think.
Yeah.
I forgot her name. Yeah,
I think her name was Emma. Emma's I can't remember the last name. Sorry.
What's her name? America Ferrera.
Yeah,
she has that outburst scene, and I was like, that was okay.
Perfect.
That's perfect. That's brilliant.
But I mean, I know it's spoilers, but if we explain the whole plot, like if we try to summarize, this is about Barbie.
I think everyone has already watched this.
It.
So I can assume you watched it. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, the whole plot to this is that Barbie is in this perfect world, in the Barbie world. And all of a sudden, she feels like things are getting weird, like her feet are flat. And like she starts like, I think she starts getting cold water instead of hot water. And like everything is starting to become a mess. And obviously that's when we meet the weird Barbie, who is played by
Kate McKinnon.
Yeah. Who then she explains that, in the real world, there's this relationship with the Barbie dolls, which affects the Barbie world.
On the owner.
Yeah, and the owner. So it's
sort of like the Lego movie.
Right. In many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout this whole film is basically we are going through a journey of Barbie trying to, I think, understand about herself and what the Barbie world is about.
Yeah. I guess she goes from like a two-dimensional character to
actual
a human being.
Yeah.
Like feeling emotions and stuff.
I mean, I have to say this though, because after watching the film, when I walked out of the theater, I was like, and YouTube is going to have a field day with this. There is going to be so much controversy.
Right.
Because the themes are like feminism and all of that. I mean, end of the day, it's a Barbie movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, but it uses the Barbie kind of IP to talk about some like important stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's talking about gender roles and you know, the stereotypes and how you know. And what I like about it is that it shows both sides. It's not, you know, it's about Barbie, but it's also about Ken at one point, right?
Yeah.
And then you see what he's going through, and I guess if you're a guy, you can probably relate to what he's going through.
Yeah.
And if you're a girl, you can probably relate to what Barbie's going through. And that's why it's I think such a, you know, heartwarming kind of story, because it shows the reality of that.
Yeah.
And this was written by Greta Gerwig and
Noah. So
we were talking about how Barbie was written by Greta Gerwig and
Noah,
her husband or her partner, Noah Baumbach.
Yeah, who also wrote, I think...
he did Marriage Story.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how it got a good balance of
both,
both sides of it. And you probably don't even see that it's gonna go so far into Ken's thing, but I thought that it did a really good job.
Yeah. But I also wanted to say that what I liked about this movie was they took the IP of Barbie and they kind of did this whole deconstructing the brand, addressing its issues.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a scene where Barbie is in the real world and she kind of finds the owner. And with her friends, she starts saying, oh, you're a fascist, you're an icon of hypercapitalism, which I kind of agree, because the brand was always this materialistic kind of thing for girl toys. I mean, I have two sisters, and I remember some of the Barbie dolls that they used to get. Like, they have these really over-the-top dresses, and they had all these weird accessories with it. And it was nice that they kind of like actually addressed those. And
because it's not a story that happens purely within that universe, right? It goes out into the real world.
And also, I don't think Barbie actually had a story in the first place. It was, I mean, Barbie's a toy. I mean, there are movies about Barbie, but there wasn't some sort of like
Name 3 Barbie movies. Then you're not a fan.
If you're a real fan.
If you're a real fan.
Whoa, man.
But apparently there are.
But I don't think like she really had like a canon or like any like sort
who
of...
knows? Maybe she... I don't know.
I mean, I was trying to look into it, but yeah, and actually even Greta Gerwig herself even told like there isn't a canon for this whole Barbie thing.
Right.
One, that's the risky thing, that when you don't have such a story, you have to build it from the ground up.
But then that also makes it easy for her. Like, she's free to do
whatever she wants.
Which is cool.
But at the same time, I have to say though, even though they were deconstructing the whole Barbie brand, they kind of not only just like left it over and just like destroyed the whole brand itself, but they kind of brought it back together in like a new light, kind of like acknowledging the
and they even make fun of the various figures that have been discontinued. The lines that didn't work. And they kind of they do some good jokes about that kind of stuff. And then you meet the executives of the Barbie franchise, and they're all men. They're all men, and it's Will Ferrell is like the
CEO.
The CEO, which I thought was really cool. And remember even in the Lego movie, he was like.
Yeah, he was the evil CEO.
Yeah,
right?
He was sort of the evil. I forgot what his name was, but he was the corporate guy, right? He was the father.
Yeah.
So I thought that was he's pretty funny as well. So that was cool. And then you have all these other versions of both Barbie and Ken. And then you have what's his name, Simu.
Yeah,
Simu,
Simu
right?
was also a Ken, right?
Yeah, he's the Ken that Ryan Gosling's Ken is jealous of,
So
right?
he can do back flips.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling does beach.
Yeah, does he?
He does beach. He doesn't swim. He does beach. I thought.
And also Ken doesn't have a job. I mean, I don't think even Barbie also has a job.
Yeah.
Like they don't have a job. They both kind of coexist in this.
Because
like,
they're the stereotypical versions,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah.
other versions do have jobs. Like you have the astronaut
Yeah.
Barbie. You have
Yeah.
the one that cleans up the garbage. You have
yeah.
all these, and you have the president
Yeah.
Barbie, right?
Yeah.
So you have
yeah.
all these different versions, which all have their personalities. And one thing I really loved was when there are certain shots of Barbie Land where you see it from the sky, and it looks like toy figures. Like
Yeah,
it looks
yeah.
like a bit like what do you call that? Like when they use. Was it claymation or
Yeah,
that
like stop motion.
Stop motion,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It
yeah.
kind of looks like that kind
Yeah.
of animated thing from the
Yeah.
sky, which I thought
Yeah.
that was cool because it looks like a commercial or something
Yeah.
for the toys.
Yeah, and also like
Yeah.
I have to say like there was I don't think there was any CGI even used in this movie, right?
I'm not sure. I
Because
don't
like
know.
everything was almost like practical, like
The sets were
like
really cool.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, the sets were really beautiful.
Yeah.
I think they did build a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. I guess maybe in the transitions, maybe they use.
Maybe
but,
they
but
use some,
it's so
yeah.
it's so minor. You don't
like you don't even notice.
Yeah. You don't notice it.
Yeah.
But it's a very colorful film. Like it's
Yeah.
very beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
Even like one of my favorite parts is where the Kens are fighting among each other, and
Yeah.
it first starts with like this almost like a beach land, like a Normandy beach landing kind of thing, where they arrive. Does Ryan Gosling arrive on like a seahorse or something?
Yeah, he arrives on some unicorn or
And they land and they have this crazy fight scene because the Barbies make the Kens fight themselves, and then they go into like this musical thing where they start singing, and then they kind of put aside the differences and they unite, right? The Kens kind of they sing and they realize
it's a really catchy song. I've
Yeah.
been listening it for weeks on repeat on Spotify.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that.
There's a lot of really like hilarious moments. I mean, there's a scene where he's playing the Matchbox 20 song to Barbie, and I was like, is this like a personal attack? I like Matchbox 20. And
then
but
they
the
show
thing
like
is,
4 hours later and he's still playing the song.
and the thing is, the joke is so funny that I'm not even mad at it. Because I'm like, that's me. It's totally me.
That's literally me.
That's literally me. And yet the joke is so funny.
Yeah.
Right? And like, wow, I can't believe they did that. That was
Also,
so
like
cool.
the funny part is like when the Kens take over the Barbie world, like Ryan Gosling's Ken is like, this is my dojo, casa,
Dojo Mojo Casa House. And they do all the stuff that like guys do that drives girls nuts, like
watching Godfather.
And you haven't watched the Godfather? And like all the mansplaining and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And also like the weird obsession with horses.
there was like
like every monitor like had like a horse running.
because he thought the patriarchy was about horses, right?
Yeah.
And then he was disappointed to find out that it wasn't about horses, because he really loves horses.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Yeah. And I love how the executives realize that you can make money off of it.
Yeah.
Whatever is going on right now.
In the Barbie world.
Yeah.
Because like they kind of like I think the Barbie world and the real world, it's kind of like synced in.
Yeah.
So I think whatever happens in either world kind of affects the other world.
Yeah.
But interestingly, I wanted to ask you, do you feel like the Barbie world and the real world is like pole opposites of each other? Like
It wasn't really. It was, I mean, because you had like a lot of the bad stuff happening in the real world, but then it wasn't fully realistic.
Yeah,
I mean, because you have Will Ferrell you know, especially when it came to the Mattel executives, right?
Yeah.
They were not behaving like real people. They were like, they could be in Barbie land.
Yeah, like the whole Will Ferrell, the whole executive, they kind of reminded me of Agent Smith from The Matrix, like the way they behaved. Because they were all wearing suits and they were all chasing behind a Barbie. And
they're all like very similar.
Like very robotic and like they almost act the same way. I felt in many moments in this film, it almost kind of reminded me of The Matrix, because even like from the scene where sorry, who was playing the weird Barbie?
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon. Yeah, she was like Morpheus, right? Giving the option or option one. Like
there was a scene where she says you have to choose.
Yeah,
and it's sort of like the red pill, blue pill kind of thing, where if Barbie wanted, she can choose to ignore what's happening in the real world. But it's not a real choice.
She's like telling her like go to the real world and find out.
That was The Matrix. That was.
And also like even like afterwards, I've noticed the scene when she goes to the Mattel office and when she meets the executives and when she's running away from them. There's a scene where she gets into a room. It kind of like the lady over there kind of reminded me of Oracle, like offering her the tea.
And even when she's running around the office, you have these cubicles, and it looks like that scene where Neo is
trying to escape.
And then there's a hallway full of doors. So that was, I guess, that could have been a Matrix thing. Yeah.
In many ways, I was like, I think this was like watching the Matrix again. Because like. Yeah,
there was a lot of callbacks.
But again, like this film, even though it's like funny and there's drama, there's like a lot of in-depth themes. Like even after watching the film, you still think about the film, which I don't think a lot of films do these days.
And I mean, and especially for a film that has become this popular, like such a smash hit at the box office, and it's getting so many people into the theater, and for something like that, to also have a message and something that
to put all of that
people can relate to and all that, and it's amazing. Like you go to the movie theater, and I have never seen so many women at the movie theater.
Exactly,
because there's like and it's people of all ages. And then if you go there's like it's not just women as well. It's also guys are there. Also and I've also noticed that, because the Barbie and also Oppenheimer screenings are so packed, the people are even going to the other movies because they couldn't get tickets. So there are so many people at the movie theater. So as somebody who loves going to the movie theaters, this is such a cool time. And Barbie is one of the reasons why so many people are going to the movie theater, and that's cool. This
out of like 5, I gave this like 4.5 and maybe 5 in all Letterboxd, because I literally said like in 24 years I never thought one day I would go for like a Barbie premiere and really like enjoy, and it's the thing about this film. It's not just for like the Barbie fans. You could be someone who like for. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to go personal on this. I have 2 younger sisters, and when they were growing up, they watched Barbie, and me as a brother who would like kind of babysit them. I wasn't really a huge fan of Barbie, but I think as someone like myself, you could go and watch this film too. You don't have to love Barbie. Or the brand in general.
You don't have to be a fan.
You can be a total stranger and you can walk in and you can still learn a lot more about Barbie.
And in my screening, everyone was laughing. Like guys, girls, everyone was
like laughing together.
It was such a good, such a good experience.
Even like even in in the middle of the movie, there's this moment when Barbie is like going through this meltdown and she's kind of experiencing the feelings that every young woman would feel, like anxiety and all of that. I think America's speech kind of like I can remember the silence in the hall,
Yeah.
and afterwards everyone was like literally clapping. Like I think myself, I think we all kind of like stood up in the premiere. We all like clapping because I mean, yes, I mean it can be very direct to your face, but it's a Barbie movie end of the day, and you have. I mean, I can't imagine any other way you could tackle a brand like this. I can't think of anyone else who could, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Greta Gerwig did like a really good job. Because using this kind of franchise opportunity, but to also to use that to tell a very original story, right? Something that has a real bite to it. So that's pretty cool. And also like it's very accessible. Like you said, like you don't have to be a fan. It's where anybody can just walk in, not knowing anything about Barbie.
You could be a dad, you could be an uncle, you could be like me, a brother of two sisters, or you could like go with your family and just watch this film and you will still enjoy it.
It's
I think because you have to kind of address this, because a film like this you have to kind of address it.
And maybe you learn a bit about the you know the feminine side of it.
No, because I mean it's like because after this we'll be talking about the Oppenheimer film. If you don't talk about the bomb, obviously then you're not doing justice to the film, you know, like so in that sense, you know, you kind of have to you have to kind of talk about the themes also in the film. Otherwise I don't think I'll be doing justice to this film.
And Barbie, like you know, somebody asked me how I would rate it, and I didn't answer because I didn't know. I mean, because it's pretty perfect, the movie as it is. I don't like. But if I say it's 5 out of 5, everyone will think that it's like the best thing. Like, I don't know what to say, but it's awesome. It's a really.
So, I mean, you could say 4 stars out of 5.
Maybe. I suppose. But then does that mean there's something wrong
with it? But
I don't know. That's why I'm very conflicted about how to give a rating. But I think everyone should go watch this at least once. You know. Go check it out.
I mean, you could watch it either order. You can watch Oppenheimer first and then Barbie, or Barbie and then Oppenheimer like us.
And if you can't get a Barbie screening, go for Oppenheimer. You're not going to lose either way. So I
think we have to speak about Oppenheimer.
So like I said earlier, I watched Barbie first. And then I went for Oppenheimer because what I heard people saying was that Oppenheimer will, when it ends, you're gonna think about it, and you don't want to think about it while you're watching Barbie. Is what I saw somebody comment online. So I was like, okay, then I'm gonna watch Barbie first. Get that out of the way, and then the next day I didn't watch both on the same day, so I didn't technically do the Barbenheimer thing.
Same here.
Because I wanted to enjoy each one as it is. Without thinking about the other one.
Because I mean, doing a double feature for these two films is a lot to process.
I'm glad I watched Oppenheimer on another day. So this one, I mean, wow, just amazing how it looks. Nolan shot this in IMAX, obviously, and it looks incredible. And I think it's like it's the longest IMAX film,
right? It's 2 hours and 58.
It's almost 3 hours.
It's
almost 3 hours long. And I mean, it's about Robert Oppenheimer's about his life and
I think the story kind of breaks into his university life, him during the Manhattan Project, and then the consequences after the Manhattan Project.
And just like Nolan, he cuts between,
and he
goes into the future, goes into the past.
It's very non-linear the way he explains the story.
He has to make it a bit timey-wimey.
See, here's the thing, right? When I went into this film, I did not read anything about Oppenheimer. I knew who Oppenheimer was. I knew that he was the person behind Manhattan Project. I never really went in depth into it. I just went in fresh, as if I had no idea who Oppenheimer is, and I just absorbed it as it was. So,
but in the ending of Tenet, they said Oppenheimer will return in Oppenheimer. So he meant. I mean, they did mention Oppenheimer in Tenet. So he was obviously thinking about it even at that point, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see this guy's life, right? I mean, he did this thing which affected the whole world, and then his reputation was ruined by other people.
He goes through like a moral dilemma afterwards, and
and this kind of gives you like a peek into his mind, right?
Yeah,
because you see everything in color is from his point of view. It's very subjective, so you have this weird imagery, right? Because he's imagining how the atoms are interacting, right? So you're seeing these weird waves
and
like flames.
And, you kind of like see how he's like thinking about it most of the time, and how he's like disassociated from his environment at certain points, because he's like looking blanklessly at certain things, and you see him.
And I think he had some issues because he couldn't sleep. I think in the beginning of the film.
I think he suffered from like depression, because so this morning before you actually came in, I was just like reading about Oppenheimer through Wikipedia, just so understand more. So I think he suffered from depression, and
so that's what he was thinking of all these things, and it affected him, right? And I think a lot of people say that because he was not a very focused person.
Yeah.
Because he would...
His ideas were really good.
Yeah, because he wrote one of the first kind of papers about the black hole. Because they were doing some research about the star collapsing, and he did some initial findings.
After Albert Einstein's whole quantum theory, I mean, at that time a lot of people were having a lot of interest in this new field, and he also pioneered in that. And also he was a friend of Einstein.
Yeah,
we get to learn.
And at the time, when he publishes that paper or whatever, it's the same day that Germany invades Poland. And everyone just they don't notice what he just put out.
Freaked out. And also I mean, if you're talking about the film, I mean, there is nothing to spoil. You can read it on Wikipedia like me just before recording.
But I'm glad I didn't look up stuff. I just went to watch the movie.
With a fresh mind. And because basically what happens during World War II, after Albert Einstein publishes the whole quantum theory, he writes a letter to the president, who was, I think, Franklin Roosevelt. Saying that you could actually make a bomb out of this, and that's where the whole Manhattan Project begins.
And they find out that the Nazis are stockpiling uranium. So they realize, okay, they are going after the bomb as well. So we have to make our own bomb,
and we have to put a stop to this. And during that time, I think Oppenheimer, he was in University of Cambridge. He didn't like his tutor, which he tries to poison him with an apple. He injects potassium.
Now I heard different versions of that story.
Yeah, there were different versions, but I think
and yet the Oppenheimer's son or somebody has recently said, or somebody in his family has said that never happened.
Oh, okay.
But I've heard another, I was watching something on YouTube, and they also mentioned the apple getting poisoned thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened.
I mean, but in this film, they kind of show that.
They show
they kind of we see a glimpse.
Yeah.
And so at that time he's in Cambridge, and then he goes to, I think, Princeton. I think because there's a lot going on in this film. We may not be actually
so
accurate.
It cuts between the Manhattan Project stuff
and then his early life.
And also the hearings that are happening towards the end.
So and also he goes to Princeton, and he has gone to University of he's gone to Caltech. I think even in the film he goes to Germany to learn more about quantum physics. I think there's a scene where I think they're talking more about it, and apparently the lecturer in Germany was Heisenberg, who was actually supporting the Nazis at that time. And I would say you kind of feel the pressure towards the film. You feel this pressure on your shoulders, because you feel that's like a ticking bomb, because you have the Nazis on the other end trying to make this
so
bomb.
You gotta beat them, right?
And also even the Soviets were also interested in making a bomb. And you kind of get into the nitty gritty of what happened during this project.
And there's a lot of paranoia, because Oppenheimer, he had some communist connections in the past. So there's a lot of people who doubt him. They think he might be a Russian spy or some kind of thing. So they are, they don't trust him completely, and there's a lot of stuff.
We also see like,
like
the politics also going on, because the general kind of, so apparently I read that the reason why they chose Oppenheimer to be the director of this project was because I think they say that, I mean, the reports say that he was overly ambitious, and he had like, he was really smart. He had like so much, like he was not only a physicist. He was like he mastered in chemistry, in engineering. So I think with his wide array of like expertise, they kind of brought him into this project, and apparently 600,000 people worked under this project.
Wow. It's insane.
Yeah, and also we see a lot what's going on, the development of Los Alamos, the laboratory in which they were like making the bomb, and also the film explains, right? They wanted it in a remote site. They didn't want to.
It's actually a place that where he liked to go.
Yeah, New Mexico.
he just liked going there, so he goes there. And you see a lot of actors, lots of people, right? Lots of people who are like Academy Award winning level actors who show up for like 5 minutes.
5 minutes. And I mean, even Jack Quaid from like The Boys.
Jack
also
Quaid is there. Rami Malek is there. Gary Oldman
is
as the president. You have Josh Hartnett. You have like Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Like, so many people, right? You had the guy who was in the Han Solo movie, Alden. What's his name?
He was one of the. I think
he was at the Senate committee hearing for Strauss's character.
Yeah.
And you have all these people, Matt Damon. You have all these people. They show up for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they are awesome. Like every single. I
think that's why you kind of feel that pressure also, right? Like
they are giving everything, right?
Yeah, like
what's his name? Das Malkian. They are all there, and Nolan is getting these amazing performances. I'm like, I think in terms of performances, this is
the best.
He's getting the best out of everyone. Of course, Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer.
Oh my God,
who was incredible.
Yeah.
And I thought Emily Blunt was also really good.
Yeah.
She gives that speech.
Yeah.
And of course, Robert Downey Jr. So he's sort of, I think Nolan has compared this to like Mozart and Salieri kind of relationship where they work together, but then this guy felt like he embarrassed him in front of the commission or whatever, right? And he thinks that and Strauss's character Robert Downey Jr.'s character Strauss, he thinks that Oppenheimer said something to Einstein that kind of he said something behind his back, right?
Yeah.
And so he's sort of like trying to ruin Oppenheimer's
reputation by like removing his.
But to be fair to him, he also thinks Oppenheimer is a spy.
Yeah, and also like a communist in many senses. Because,
and he embarrassed him in front of his whole colleagues and all that. So
also like I mean, this is why I like this film, because unlike the other biopics that try to kind of sugarcoat the character, we kind of see his flaws also. Because I mean, Oppenheimer kind of did have an ego. I mean, he kind of felt it. And he was also flawed in like many ways. And I mean, in this film, there's a lot of talking. There's not a lot of action. I want to mention
there's
this.
There's no action
at all. Like it's people in rooms talking. Because I mean, when they were making the project, I mean, I can just imagine a lot of talking going on, because they have to decide what goes into the bomb. How do we? Where do we? Even they discuss about like where do we drop it? Because. Towards
and then
the
that
end
guy is like, don't drop it on Kyoto
because I went on a honeymoon, so that's why.
That was incredible. I was like,
I was laughing.
And here's the thing, right? It's such a dark subject matter, but there are a lot of jokes in this.
Exactly.
There are a lot of jokes in this, and that's when I realized, like, if you go back and watch Nolan's films. Now, he's known for being this gritty, realistic kind of filmmaker.
And it's like very serious.
But his movies are actually very funny. There's a lot of one-liners and jokes. And like, go back and watch the Dark Knight films. There's a lot of jokes. They're really funny. And even in this movie, Nolan's sense of humor is there. Like it's amazing. Like that.
I think it makes it more human, right? In many ways. I mean, you know, like I mean, these are people.
These are people.
Like you know, obviously they might be joking around. So yeah, they even discuss about basically, historically, what happens? So while they're developing the bomb, I think towards the end, the Nazis surrender, and
at that point, the Nazis they have won the war in Europe.
But then the Japanese are still there. So that's why they decided they wanted to drop it.
Because a land invasion of Japan would have cost a lot more lives. So they think, okay, by dropping this, it'll end it quickly.
End the whole war.
That's their thinking. And also Oppenheimer seems to think that if you drop one, it'll scare everybody so much that we'll never drop another bomb again. That's his thinking. He thinks this will end everything. But unfortunately, because of the politics involved, it didn't. It turns into this arms race. And then he realizes his mistake. And then that's why he tries to later in his life he tries to influence the policy on nuclear weapons and he tries to get them to not
he tried to like stop the whole hydrogen bombing too, because he realizes after his bomb it's like everything has changed. Like the way we see war, it's it's a whole other,
and I love that scene where after he delivers the bomb, right? Where they package it and they are taking it and then he tells Matt Damon's character, okay, shall I also come to Washington with you? And then Matt Damon is like,
no.
Why?
Like,
why? Like, and that's when Oppenheimer realizes he just lost control of his creation.
And
he just like, and it's this, and was it somewhere in the movie that somebody says they will use you, but then at one point they won't need you anymore, kind of? Somebody says that, right?
Someone, I think one of the scientists kind of...
They will use you until they need you, but...
I remember one of the actors who was in Good Time.
Okay.
He calls Oppenheimer OP.
Oh, right.
The Russian scientist who keeps on like doing the research, and he's like, hey, in Russia they're going to...
Is it Benny Safdie?
Yes. His
character, okay.
I think he's the one who told him that. He was like, look... Because he was that one character who was very cautious about this whole process from the beginning. And we see it in the film, like he's like, look, this is the issues, this is what's going on in Russia. Because at the same time, while they were developing the bomb, the US government kind of gets to know that there is a spy in the team and someone is like releasing these secrets to the Soviets, and they were scared that, okay, if they also start building a bomb, then this is going to, not end well. And also the funny thing was, like, at the launch of the bomb, Oppenheimer tells to Matt Damon's character, like, there is a small chance that this could destroy the world.
Because at the time they thought that the chain reaction from the explosion will not stop. And it will ignite the atmosphere. And it blows my mind that they did believe there was... I mean, it's close to zero, that's what they say, right?
Close
it's
to
zero,
but still there's a chance.
It's not zero. And even with that knowledge, they still went ahead and did it. And they were taking bets, remember? They were taking bets whether it will happen or not. And it's incredible. Like, they pushed the button without fully knowing, right?
And here's where I think the film really did a good job with the bomb. I know the bomb explosion-wise didn't look great.
Yeah, it was actually kind of underwhelming for me.
But they played a lot. I think they wanted to play a lot with the sound and all, because at one moment the film goes silent and then you kind of hear your own heartbeat, and you can also hear Oppenheimer's like breath and all in sync.
The build-up was really good. I mean, there's that scene where I think when he's inspecting the bomb just before they send it to the explosion site, right? Where you hear the music kind of turn into like this kind of radiation meter sound, right? That you hear from in Chernobyl. And I love how what's his name? Göransson, right? Was it Ludwig Göransson? What's his name? The composer. The guy who did Tenet, right? So he incorporated that sound into the
the
score,
score,
and I thought
yeah.
that was brilliant. That was really creepy.
Mm.
And his score in general is amazing.
Yeah.
I really love that.
I think his score kind of brought a lot more intensity in this film because
Yes.
you feel like
You feel
even
it.
in the film I was like, oh shit's about to get real bad.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
on one side the Nazis,
Mm.
but you know the funny thing though, in this film they say that the Nazis, I think Hitler said Einstein that nuclear physics is Jewish black magic, and that
Yeah.
was like really funny.
Yeah, and they say that they can count on that,
Yeah.
because that means he's not gonna put much faith in
Faith
them,
yeah.
and that's kind of one of the reasons for their downfall, because they pursue research in the heavy water,
Yeah.
because there's another thing called heavy water that they thought could lead to the bomb. So
Yeah.
the Nazis are actually researching in that side, and they don't go
Yeah.
in Oppenheimer's direction.
And also, I think Hitler at that time was too angry to be focused.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
he was
yeah.
too distracted with
and
his own
he
anger.
was also looking into like all these weird occult stuff, exactly,
yeah.
right? Like this Wolfenstein kind of stuff. But again, getting back to the
Yeah.
bomb, like that sequence was really cool. The build up to it,
Yeah.
the intensity of it.
And actually, it that's how a bomb is, because when it explodes, you see the light first, and then later on, only you get the shock wave.
Yeah,
so in the film hall, you kind of felt it like,
Yeah.
and you,
That was really amazing, and I love how towards the end, and because even after the bomb explosion, the movie isn't over. There's like 1 hour left after that.
Yes.
Right? And it's all this courtroom drama as well.
Yeah.
Because throughout you see Oppenheimer and a lot of people who were close to him, they are getting questioned by this committee.
And they're getting followed by the FBI.
Yeah. And I forgot Jason Clarke was really good. He's one of the guys who was questioning him.
Oh.
He's the guy who's directly questioning him.
Oh, okay.
And you see, like after the bomb goes off, right?
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned earlier where the actual explosion wasn't that impressive. But then you have this scene where Oppenheimer is telling all his people that the bomb, they just dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, I think. And he's saying it was successful. And then he starts to see things.
Yes, he started,
And there I thought they brought the intensity in. Because he starts seeing people who are getting burned.
Yeah.
And he's seeing people who have radiation poisoning.
Yes.
And it's messing with his reality,
that's where
right?
the moral dilemmas begins.
And it's the way it's edited together, right? The sound.
Yeah.
Because you hear the American people cheering.
Yeah,
but then
you see
also
them,
hear you also hear screaming.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's imagining what's happening in Japan right now. And I thought that was scary.
You know, after the bomb, when he gave the speech, what was interesting was that when he was walking towards the hall, everyone was like stomping their feet. It felt like when a bomb explodes, you know, the thundering sound. It almost felt very similar to that. That's when I think this whole thing starts building up to him.
I think that's maybe why Nolan didn't make the explosion so impressive.
Yeah.
The testing.
Yeah.
But later on, you see those effects.
Yeah.
And that makes it actually scarier.
And not only the consequences not only affect like Oppenheimer, but it also affects all the people who worked in the project, because they get dismissed. Some of them, they are not working anymore. I think some of them even died. I think I think we saw in the film some people are no longer they're no longer working. Some are their lives were like ruined. Like we even saw that happen to most of these scientists. Because I remember in one of the hearings also they were explaining that as a result of this, some of the scientists, they are no longer having jobs. Some of them are dismissed. Some of them are missing, or they're no longer there. So I think that also further builds up the consequences and that intensity after the bomb. And even, also, even in the courtroom.
Even in the courtroom, right? You see the lighting changes, and it gets very blinding kind of light inside the courtroom, and he's imagining the explosion there, right? So I thought that was really cool, because you expect that in the testing scene, right?
Yeah.
But they actually kind of mix it up with the other scenes, where you don't expect to see that. and I thought that was brilliant. Wow, yeah. So that and then towards the end, it kind of heats up with Strauss's character.
Yeah.
It all kind of comes back together, and I like how even the people around Strauss realize that, okay, this guy, he's has a bit of a vendetta, right?
Yeah.
And the entire movie, you keep kind of going back to that scene with Einstein and Oppenheimer, and in the beginning, whenever you see it from Strauss's point of view,
Yes.
and you never hear
what's going on,
what they're talking about, and then and Strauss, it's completely destroying him, right? Because he thinks that Oppenheimer said something to Einstein, and that's what soured his relationship with Einstein, right? And so he thinks it's about him.
Yeah.
He thinks they are plotting to do something to him, right?
Yeah.
To embarrass him or something.
Yeah.
And so he's so kind of all me. And then Alden's character, right? He says, maybe they were talking about something important, implying that it's not about him. He's not that. Strauss is not that important. And I thought that was the sickest burn in the whole thing.
Because it kind of like unravels and
because he thinks it's all about him.
Yeah.
But those two are actually talking about something way more important. And I thought it was brilliant. And then the movie actually ends with that final. They show what they talk about. And I thought, like, wow.
If I'm correct, basically what Einstein was telling Oppenheimer was like, look, you created the bomb and now you have to face the consequences because of the popularity and all of that. And I think that was it, right?
No. So what happens is they were worried about the chain reaction igniting the atmosphere, right? They were because that's the kind of thing that happens during the test, right? They're worried that if the bomb doesn't stop, it'll destroy the whole world. And then, so at first they're relieved that didn't happen. But then Oppenheimer tells Einstein, okay, but this is starting a different kind of chain reaction. And that chain reaction is basically the arms race. Now everyone is trying to build weapons, this atomic weapons. And that chain reaction is what's going to destroy the world. That's what he means by that. And then you see Einstein walk away, and then you see what Oppenheimer is seeing, right? And he's seeing all the weapons of mass destruction that are being built right now. You see the missile silos.
I think he prophesizes a future where like everything is destroyed and like the world is burning up.
So in a way, the chain reaction has happened.
It has,
because
has happened.
The technology has gone out of his hands now. It's everywhere. And everyone's going to be trying to build it. And that's what's scaring him now. And that's freaking him out. And I don't know if you noticed, but the first shot of the movie is raindrops on the pond, right? So that looks like the nukes dropping.
Yes.
Like that's the same shot you see of the earth being burnt from all the nuclear explosion. So he connected the raindrops to that. And I thought, wow.
And also the speaking of the raindrops, can you remember the diner scene when everyone is at the round table and they're discussing? And they pull up the map and they're like, okay, this is how the radius. So in that sense, it also kind of connects to that, and they in that scene they're talking about, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to go. And there is also a hydrogen bomb in development going on,
which is I guess more powerful. I guess that's more powerful.
And so also there's one more scene. I think it's really infamous because it's actually historically it has been recorded that after the bomb, Oppenheimer actually goes to the president and he says that I have blood in my hands. And then, which actually happened, I think, because this film is based on a book which Nolan read, and
American Prometheus.
American Prometheus. And the President Truman at that time, he pulls up his Soviet. And he says, clean that. And he says that you don't have blood. You build the bomb, but I press the button.
He wants the credit for it, I guess.
And then when Oppenheimer walks out, you hear
Yeah.
the president saying, "Don't bring that crybaby here," which
yeah,
actually
yeah.
happened in real life.
Right.
Because in real life, I think some people say that he said that don't bring that son of a bitch here. You know?
Right.
So in that sense,
It's a very chilling. It's a very
chilling
chilling
interaction. Because when he say you have blood on your own hands, I kind of felt, I was like, wow, like, you know,
he's feeling the weight of what
everything.
What he did. Yeah. And now recently I watched another film called JFK.
Oh, okay.
And there's actually a JFK reference in Oppenheimer.
Yes.
Because there's a scene later on where I think is it something to do with Strauss, I think?
Yeah, so basically this
somebody's questioning him, right?
because so basically this hearing, what we actually see is basically they're trying to take Strauss is basically going to the Senate and saying, look, Oppenheimer is out of his mind, and because of his past, we need to take off his security clearance, he doesn't get to make.
Yeah, but that's the thing where they're investigating Oppenheimer, but there's another hearing where Strauss is being asked questions. Right? That's something to do with him.
Yeah, and also
his Senate confirmation. Hearing,
and actually
and he doesn't get it because
JFK was one of the voters against Strauss.
And they dropped JFK's name the way it feels very similar to how they dropped the Robin reference in Dark Knight Rises. What was the senator's name? John F. Kennedy.
And then
so I think, but I think that reference is there because I think Nolan watched Oliver Stone's JFK film. And he does mention that there were some interviews where he mentioned it, because even in that film, they do this switching between color and black and white to show different perspectives, and that's a political thriller as well. It goes into like the assassination of JFK and whether there was a cover-up, that kind of stuff. So when you watch that, like I recently watched it, and I was like, wow, you can see Nolan probably watched that, and he took some inspiration from it, because the way it changes the point of view of different characters, and there's even a scene where they mention a chain reaction, and I was like, wait, just a second. This specific word was used, and I was like, wow, okay, maybe he,
But I read apparently JFK was anyways kind of a support. He was actually kind of cool with Oppenheimer, and I think he lobbied the Senate to go.
Yeah, because from what I understand, I don't know how accurate the JFK film is. A lot of people say it's not very historically accurate. But they do mention how Kennedy wasn't a big fan of war. So maybe that could be, because later on in his life, Oppenheimer didn't want atomic weapons getting out. I think he was trying to kind of rein in, but you can't put that back in the box.
He was one of those people who kind of pioneered like this international policy on like nuclear weapons, and because up to now there hasn't been a nuclear weapon or anything like that in that kind of aspect.
I guess he tried to put it back in the box, but you can't.
Because even in the film they mention about United Nations at one point. So I mean, I would say this is not only a biography; it feels like a political thriller in many ways. And
it's a very tense courtroom drama. And it really leaves you thinking, right? Like those scenes of the Earth getting destroyed, right? And I think Nolan has spoken about how, he thinks that that's what AI is now. AI technology, like once it's out there, So maybe in a few years there'll be somebody who, makes a film about the people who did ChatGPT, right? And ChatGPT is the atomic bomb, and then what is the chain reaction? So so it really kind of leaves you thinking about, what does this mean, right? I mean, okay, sure, like nuclear weapons, I'm not afraid of nuclear weapons anymore, because I don't think anybody is actually that crazy.
Because I think after that, after what happened with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I think people realize the power it has. And I don't think no one would ever want to do it again. Because that's like the worst thing you can do on this earth. To drop a bomb like that on a city. And I think even Oppenheimer actually felt that pressure. And that's why I think you were describing about seeing the burning bodies and all. Like, it's on him. It's on... I mean, you could argue...
It's not all on him, but he felt like... So that's really... Why? What an amazing movie, right? Like,
I actually said that this is like the best since like Interstellar.
Right.
Best because Dunkirk was okay-ish. Tenet, I didn't like it. It was an experimental film in my opinion. But this film was like...
I mean, I will say that this has the best performances out of a Nolan film, and it's also, I feel like, the best editing in some ways. Like, because sometimes in Nolan films you get like these awkward cuts, right? You get this weird, like, it's almost like he did one take and said, okay, that's good enough.
And
then that scene is in the movie, and I'm like, wait, you cut to that? Like, what? I love Nolan, but sometimes he puts these really kind of awkward kind of moments in it, and like that makes me feel it's a bit sloppy. And Oppenheimer doesn't feel sloppy.
No.
So that's I feel like he's improved. This is not my favorite film by him. But that's only because I love the other film so much. But I will say that this, he's probably going to be nominated for this. And it feels like
I think Universal will definitely do that. They have to.
And you can tell that he's really taken his craft to the next level, right? This is not sloppy in any way. It's it's perfect. The editing is perfect. The music is great. Performances.
But I feel sorry for the Nolan bros because they must be like walking in thinking there's some action in this when it's clearly not.
So I didn't expect any action.
Same.
But I will have to say that there was like, at least maybe halfway into the movie where I was like, I almost nodded off. Where I was like, and then I came back. I was like, oh yeah, this is not an action movie. Yeah. I mean, I knew it, but then it really hit me that this is more talking than I've ever seen in a Nolan film, right? Because usually his movies have action.
Action, right? Yeah, that's an action sequence.
Even in slower movies like Insomnia, there are chase scenes and, these kind of...
And also, I mean, in his last film, Tenet, there was a lot of action in it. And I think a lot of these Nolan bros kind of thought, oh, okay, it's going to be like that in Oppenheimer. And I'm like, are you sure about that? Because I'll just give you my experience in the film hall. So I saw a lot of Nolan bros coming, okay?
Right.
And I was like sitting in and I'm watching this movie and I actually went with another friend, right? So the next row next to me, there was this like group of like Nolan bros. And 2 hours in the film, they were all like sleeping. One guy was literally opening his mouth and sleeping.
Where's the time travel? Where's the reverse?
Where's the reverse thing? Why isn't Oppenheimer shooting a gun? Like, And also speaking of guns, actually, I read in Wikipedia. I don't think Wikipedia is really reliable, but apparently they were also thinking of making a radioactive gun that shoots radioactive rays.
Wow.
Which then kind of grew into a bomb, and then that's where the whole Trinity kind of thing.
Okay.
There's a progress, so it kind of started from somewhere and all.
I mean, that does make sense. You would think of a gun before you think of a bomb, right?
And also, like, if you remember, like, so Oppenheimer goes to he goes to University of Chicago to check on something, and there's this big box we see.
Right.
So apparently that was like the world's first reactor or something. I read it somewhere, and I think that's where the whole inspiration. Because after that, he gets inspired.
Is it the thing that Josh Hartnett and those people are working on?
Rami Malek is like in this underground thing. So basically, that
they say it's an accelerator. Thing,
so
right?
apparently that kind of also influenced the whole making of this bomb. That's where they were. After there's a meeting and they're like, shall we put graphite or shall we put water or something?
Okay. And also the imagery of, there's like a bowl that they keep filling with marbles. That kind of signifies how much uranium they are collecting. I thought that was like a good visual indicator of where the progress of the thing is, right? They kept...
and I think the second cup was... was it?
Was it to show the Nazis?
Nazi, I think, right? I can't remember. I need to
But that was
watch it,
a cool, like a
little visual kind of thing. And also, I felt like that was like a ticking clock in a way, because like it's filling up and it's filling up and it's filling up, and I felt like every time we were seeing that the intensity is now building up again and again and again and again.
So it's a pretty intense movie,
yeah.
And I want to watch it again. Like it's pretty, because I've been thinking about it ever since it finished.
Because even like when I was like reading about it, like it kind of hit on me like, wow, like there's so much that it went on his life and the bomb, how it affected him, and you know, it's a whole other. It's a tragic story, right? Like in many ways, like he kind of suffered from it. So yeah.
And then you get people complaining that they didn't show the Japanese perspective. And I'm like, do you really want Chris Nolan to show the Japanese perspective? Because that feels like something the Japanese have done. I mean, they have done.
They've done it for like years.
They've done it for years. So you should just go and watch those movies.
Yeah, no. I mean, because it's been done in anime in Studio Ghibli movies. It's been there. There are many films out there.
And there are different types of movies, right? So even Godzilla is in one way a very extreme kind of metaphorical way of talking about.
It's a kind of commentary towards this whole thing.
So I mean, you know, instead of asking Nolan to do it,
why don't you do your homework?
Yeah, go watch the Japanese movie, right? Like it's not, and I have a feeling even if Nolan did show that, then they would complain, oh, why is a white person telling the...
Yeah.
They would say that.
Yeah, they would. So...
Yeah. But, so, anyway, I think we can all agree. I mean, Oppenheimer is awesome.
Yeah.
You should go watch it. But you should go prepared to, like, listen to a lot of talking.
Yeah.
And kind of, you know, you have to pay attention to what's being
and afterwards, if you are really interested, you should read about Oppenheimer.
I mean, there's a lot of documentaries online and lots of books are there.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating. Yeah.
I feel after watching the film, I want to actually now read American Prometheus and kind of like understand what was going on. And
So I think we can fully recommend this movie, you know.
Yeah.
So so I think what we're saying, go watch Barbie, go watch Oppenheimer, and I guess if they're both fully booked, go watch Mission Impossible, which is also really good.
Yeah. But I mean, talking about both of these films, I like that people are coming to the cinema halls again.
Yeah, and they're very different films, which is why it's been very successful.
And it's not a superhero blockbuster or anything like that. And so in that way, I'm very happy because I when I grew up, I used to go to the theater to watch movies. So in that sense, you know, it's good.
It's getting people excited. Everyone is going, and I feel like also because of this whole Barbenheimer marketing thing, right? A lot of people who probably would have watched only one movie are now watching both.
Yeah.
So they're watching the other one they otherwise may not have watched. So I think that's brilliant. They're getting people to watch both.
I don't think you can repeat such a formula again.
But you know what? That's the thing that the studio executives are going to do.
Yeah.
They're not going to do they're not going to learn the lesson we wish they would. And the lesson
this is like a very authentic thing, like organic. It's not pushed by studios. It's done by the fans themselves and by the audience.
And the thing is, we want them to realize that the reason we love these two movies are because they are made by talented filmmakers who had a vision, who had a very specific thing to say, and they were allowed to do it.
Yeah.
It's very original films, but I fear that the studios are gonna think, oh, let's just put two different movies and just put it out there, like you know, and it'll work. They're just gonna think, let's just put two movies and try to combine them. Right.
From two different studios, we'll like collaborate and do this whole thing.
And they're not gonna focus on the important part, which is getting a talented filmmaker. To do something cool, right? So, I mean, let's hope they get it right. Let's hope they learn the right lessons. But you know, it's these Hollywood executives. Studios. I don't have much hope. But it's good to see a lot of people going to the theaters. That's pretty cool. So
yeah,
that's it, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening in. For Barbenheimer. And from next week onwards, I think there aren't much films to talk about. So I think we'll be watching some old films
and maybe you'll watch Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about Mission Impossible whether you watch it or not. So you're not gonna shut me up. So better be prepared. Because I love Dead Reckoning Part 1, just put it out there. And we also watched Asteroid City a couple of weeks back. So that's a good one to talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
And if there's anything else we watch in the meantime, we'll talk about it.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening in, and hope we
see you at the movie theater.
I guess. Yeah. See you next week then.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.